Hello again, everyone. I'm back again with another video. Before I get into it, of course, some stuff to preface. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year's. And of course, this will be a video about Madoka Magica. Once again, highly recommend you to watch the anime first before watching this, because I will definitely be going into some spoilery territory. And for this video, it's going to be a little different. I will be talking about one of the characters in Madoka Magica, and since this is the third video that I've ever done, it's only fitting that I do it on this character because, third episode, third video, ha 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 ha. And this video will be a little different from what I usually do. And it's actually inspired by one of my friends, so what I will do is talk about the character, and I'll be using some of my Weiss cards to sort of help visually, I guess. So, I'll preface by saying this is not meant to be a character analysis. There are way more people more qualified than I am, but I just want to give some of my thoughts and formulate something to make me sound smart, I guess. So without further ado, the character I'm talking about today is Mami Tomoe, or Tomoe Mami, if you want to be a little bit more Japanese, I guess. But yes, Mami Tomoe is the first magical girl that we are introduced, and she is a veteran magical girl. Veteran magical girl. She has had multiple experiences with fighting the witches, which are the bad guys in the anime. Technically, you can make the argument that she's not the first magical girl that we're introduced to, but we'll get to that later in some other point. So because she is the magical girl that is introduced, that isn't hostile enough to attack the main characters of Madoka and Sayaka, she's sort of the mentor factor, which explains her status as a veteran to the two potential magical girl candidates, of that being Sayaka and Madoka. And it is because of sort of their interaction, or their first encounter, along with Kyubei appearing to urge them into a contract, it is up to Sayaka. It's up to Sayaka and Madoka to decide whether or not they want to make the contract, but it's actually up to Mami to explain sort of the responsibilities and ordeals that they will have to overcome, and sort of the details about the wish that they will eventually have to make. And she explains it to them over tea at her apartment. And this is really important because, once again, she is the first magical girl introduced, and because of that, she's meant to sort of set the tone for how the anime progresses, which I feel like they've done a really good job, and I'll explain a little bit more as I go into it. But because she is a veteran, she explains sort of the details, the wish, the hazards of being a magical girl, particularly fighting witches and whatnot, and explains that witches drop a certain type of reward called a grief seed that essentially helps magical girls become more powerful, technically, although the more refined, accurate detail is it helps them cleanse their soul gem so it doesn't get too polluted. Sorry, excuse me. And of course, we can't necessarily explain a magical girl without sort of explaining what their wish is, sort of like the process of how they became, or how they arrived to the conclusion of wanting to be a magical girl. So in Mami's instance, sorry about that, it was simply a wish in order to live. Because of her background and the event that happened, she made the wish out of sort of desperation, and you'll sort of see this trend with the other characters that I'll go over. But for her specifically, it was in essence, a selfish, impulsive wish to just be alive, essentially. And because of that, she obviously lived and became a magical girl. And the sort of manner of magical girl that she became, well, she's obviously a very elegant character. But more importantly, her fate is one that is particularly lonely because she's the veteran within the city. I'm going to refer to that place as a city. She is the only magical girl present in the city, which also means that every fight that she has ever been in, as far as I know, has been a fight that she has to endure alone. All the ordeals, she had to face them alone. But with the two new potential magical girls, that being Sayaka and Madoka, she has found hope in which she would no longer have to be alone. She no longer has to fight alone. And sort of the idea that Mami is no longer alone is sort of the climax of this particular part, in my opinion, of Madoka Magica. Because once again, this is the character that sets the tone, and with this sort of hope, it really drives it home. And of course, sorry, because of that, when Mami goes on to encounter another witch, with the sort of presence of Madoka by her side, in which they make an agreement where Madoka will become a magical girl and fight alongside with her, hence why Mami is no longer alone. She feels more reinvigorated because of this hope, and of course, she is not afraid of anything anymore. So when she goes into this fight with this witch, that is the Sweets Witch Charlotte, she obviously would want to wrap up the fight as quickly as possible because she wants to realize that hope that was given to her as soon as possible. And of course, she would wrap it up as quickly as it started with her famous Tiro Finale. I'm sorry I couldn't deliver that line as epically as the character. One, I'm not a voice actor. Two, I sound like this. So she wraps up the fight with her Tiro Finale. You know, with anime tropes, it's like a named attack, and it's supposed to be like the finishing move. Of course, with her being the character that sets the tone, what happens next also leads into the real tone of the anime. And that revelation happens in an instant. And I feel it would be more appropriate for me to let you watch the anime. Or if you've already watched it, you already know what happened, so I don't have to say anything more than that. But I will because I like to ramble. So, because Mami is such a critical character to Madoka and Sayaka, because she literally inspires Madoka and Sayaka to want to be magical girls in the first place. Yes, they do discuss whether or not a wish is worth it, but Madoka in particular felt the most sort of comfort with becoming a magical girl simply for the sake of being a magical girl. Because essentially they both look up to Mami. And that's sort of why I think Mami is one of the more, or well, all characters are important, but that's why I feel like Mami's really important, is because of her purpose and role as the sort of intro character to this life of a magical girl. Sorry. Now, of course, there are further revelations that I'll get into in other characters. But with how she sort of sets up the tone, leading into sort of the payoff or delivery of the sort of climax of this happy moment, hits really hard when you realize in the next episode, spoiler, like episode 4, Madoka literally has to be confronted with what happened to Mami. She ponders it, and she's grateful that she is... Like, Madoka actually cries. Like, when a character that young understands how and is so grateful, I feel like that's already proof enough to why an anime is already so great. So the fact that Mami as a character leads... essentially forces the main character of Madoka to reassess everything in her life. I feel like that's just really powerful. And yeah, I guess that's all there is that I'd have to say. So if you like this video, then go ahead and give it a like. If you want to comment, go ahead and comment. Subscribe if you want to subscribe. If you feel like I've butchered your favorite character, if you feel like it was a complete misrepresentation or explanation, I'm so sorry. Please don't witch hunt me. But yeah, it's just me sharing my thoughts, and with that, I'll guess I'll stop this video. But before that, I'll end with a tiro finale.